Hello everyone, and welcome back to Toku Toy Theory, where I take a look at toys from various tokusatsu series and try to figure out why they look and act the way they do. In this episode, I'll be looking at Kamen Zangetsu and Kamen Zangetsu Shin. Now with this video comes the explanation for why I held off on Zangetsu until this point. While I had initially intended for him to be analyzed alongside Gridon and Kurokage, since they were all single-form writers who appeared early on in the series, I decided to change that and hold off until this point, as Zangetsu has this unique situation, and so I decided to use him as a way to transition between the original Armored Riders and the new generation Riders. So, with that in mind, let's begin. First, we'll look at Kamen Zangetsu in his base form. Starting off with the head, you can see that it's adorned with a crescent moon-shaped crest, which is likely meant to represent the Getsu part of his name, which means moon. It has a red forehead gem, and this needle-like point that goes down and separates the visor into two eyes. It has some outlines for the eyes, and a silver mouthpiece. Going down to the body, since he's a Japanese-style rider, he shares the same base bodysuit as Gaim, though in white instead of blue. The other armor parts are also in gold, but the subtle difference between the two of them is their patterns. While both have a cloud pattern on their gauntlets and thighs, for Zangetsu, it's done up in black instead of gold, and has these little kind of edges that are worked into the inner parts of the gaps between the lines, which is most likely meant to mean, or meant to show, that they're supposed to be storm clouds instead of regular clouds. Going down to his belt, while he does have a holster for a Muso saber since he is equipped with one, he does not have a lockseed holder since he only has one form. Aside from that, has the standard armor pieces for an armored rider. This is all reflected in his faceplate, which of course features a profile shot of his helmet, as well as his pattern in the background. Next we have the Melon lockseed and the Melon armor part. Now while these two are obviously based on the same fruit, the way they're stylized is a little bit different. Though they both have a general light green and gold color scheme, for the Melon lockseed, that gold is shown in this ring around the designation, whereas on the armor part, it's more accented along some of the edges. You also see that the netting-like texture on the Melon lockseed is a lot bigger than on the Melon armor part, where it's a lot thinner and covers a lot more surface, or a lot more surface area. Switching on the Melon lockseed will get you a Japanese flare. And there we got the transformation sound for Melon Arms. Now, here we have Kamen Zangetsu Melon Arms. And while, like Gaim Orange Arms, he's based on a samurai, there are still differences in his armor and armaments. Starting off with the helmet, you see that the helmet part does have a stem on the top, as well as two fins on the side, though they are a bit more rounded compared to Gaim's, and there's a bit of a kind of layered look to the back of the helmet. Getting down to the armor itself, structurally it is very similar to Orange Arms, as it does fold out the same way, with one piece folding flat on the back, and then the chest plate and shoulder pads folding down and then in on themselves. But the way they're done is in a more pointed style, with these pointed tips on the shoulders, as well as on the upper corners of the chest plate. You also have these two pieces on the insides of the shoulders, or one piece on the inside of each shoulder, to make them look like melon slices. And unlike Gaim, who's equipped with two swords, Zangetsu in Melon arms is equipped with a Muso saber and a shield called the Melon Defender. Now this is something interesting, as samurai weren't usually associated with shields, since their armor was kind of meant to typically act as a replacement for a shield. But there is some historical evidence to suggest that some samurai would use handheld shields in order to defend themselves from projectiles like arrows. And you can definitely see that the Melon Defender is meant for both Melon arms and Zangetsu himself. It is once again light green and gold. It has that melon texture all throughout it. You also see a pair of melon slices on the side, and then running through the middle is a piece that is the same general shape as Zangetsu's crest, as well as this part up here, which can represent both a melon and a full moon. And it shows that Zangetsu is perhaps meant to be a little bit more defensive than Gaim. Next, we have Kamen Rider Zangetsu Shin in his base form. As to be expected, this is a modified version of the original Zangetsu suit. Starting off with the helmet, while it has the same basic design, some modifications have been made to it. Primarily, you can see that the biggest new additions would be a series of silver tubes running through various parts of the helmet. And then the other addition would be these thick black outlines around the eyes that jut out on the sides and give them a more dynamic look. While the base bodysuit hasn't changed much in terms of its physical shape, there has been some new coloring added to fill in some of the padded parts. And new raised outlines have been added to accommodate the black coloring on the sides of the suit as well. Though the extra armor bits, like the shoulder pads and knee pads, all remain unchanged, and he still has the same pattern on his gauntlets and thighs. And then the biggest new addition is his new rider system. The first part of that new system is the Gaseous Driver. Now, whereas the Sengoku Driver had a very simple design that was small and was meant to be that way so as to make the significant part the fact that it had interchangeable faceplates, the Gaseous Driver has no customization, but is bigger and more complex. It sports a metallic red and silver color scheme, as well as several different parts. First off, you have two handles, one far off to the left and then one over to the right, as well as some molded-in springs, and this clear cup down here on the bottom. You also have these drinking straw-like parts sticking out of the sides. Now, whereas the Sengoku Driver was designed after a cutting board, the Gaseous Driver, if you couldn't tell already, is based on a fruit juicer. So the big difference is how it manipulates the fruits. Now, because of its design, it can't really be displayed upright unless it's against a wall, or you attach the belt straps, so it has something to rest against. Switching on, will actually highlight another change between the two, which is that A feature the Gaseous Driver has that the Sengoku Driver doesn't have is the addition of lights. Now the main mechanism is pushing in the handle and then having it automatically retracted back. But on its own, it can't really do much without any lock seeds. Therefore, we come to the second part of the new system, the energy lock seeds. These are artificial lock seeds that are made to be more powerful than normal lock seeds. And what I mean by that is that for normal lock seeds, they're actually converted from the fruit of the otherworldly Helheim forest, so they're originally something organic that's made inorganic. Whereas energy lock seeds are completely mechanical, completely artificial, and inorganic from the start. And while normal lock seeds only go up to A rank, energy lock seeds are S ranked, making them stronger. Design-wise, there's also quite a bit of difference. Whereas normal lock seeds have a very solid colored body, consisting of a silver front half and a black back, as well as a normal looking lock hanger, energy lock seeds use a clear body with a pale clear blue for the majority, and then a darker clear blue for the button and hanger, which, in going along with the general design motif, is designed after a drinking straw. The second part comes with the front of the lock. Whereas for normal lock seeds, it is a panel that flips down, for energy lock seeds, it's actually a full-on mechanism within itself, having the front part that shows the fruit design and the designation, and the back part which shows the inside and contains the mechanism. Now for the Melon energy lock seed, as opposed to the normal Melon lock seed, it's based on a cantaloupe instead of a green muskmelon, being green on the front and orange on the inside. As demonstrated, or as shown here, energy lock seeds can have their mechanism activated even when not attached to the Gaseous Driver. And similarly, they have more mechanical functions rather than the inverse game. We then have the Melon Energy armor part. Now, while you can still see that it has a stem and still has that green color and melon texture, it looks a lot more like folded armor and therefore looks a lot more artificial. It has, in addition to the bits of clear orange, a lot more silver added to the design. Of course, the next thing to show is the functionality between the Gaseous Driver and the energy lock seeds. So, just like with normal lock seeds, the setup is the same of opening up the lock by pressing the button, then attaching the lock and closing the hanger. Then, to activate the transformation, you push in the handle and release. And as you can see, when the transformation is activated, the cup is filled with light to represent the liquid extracted from the energy lock seed, and it has a matching light color. After that, of course, there are the special attacks, But unlike the Gaseous Driver or the Sengoku Driver and normal lock seeds, which can activate 3 special attacks, the Gaseous Driver has only 2. And that's dependent on whether you push in the lever once or twice. Putting it in once will activate an energy squash, while pushing it in twice will activate an energy sparking. And then, of course, unlocking Lockseed will deactivate the belt. Next, of course, is the culmination of the new system, Kamen Rider Zangetsu Shin Melon Energy Arms. And here we can see just how different he is from both the original Zangetsu and the normal armored riders. Starting off with the new helmet, you can see that inside, for the eyepiece, there is no fruit texture but instead a solid color. And that's to represent how there is what appears to be some kind of a liquid, a juice-like liquid, within the visor itself. You now see that the straw-like tubes run through the entire helmet, as well as through the armor as a general design motif. And while he still has the melon stem at the top of his head, he now has these cantaloupe slice horns on the sides. As for the armor itself, it now has an asymmetrical design, with this chest plate, which has one side being solid with Zangetsu Shin's symbol emblazoned on it, while the other is a clear orange piece that connects to a single shoulder pad. The reasoning for this single shoulder pad is twofold. The first is in regards to the new weapon for the new generation riders, a bladed bow called the Sonic Arrow. Now, because of it being a both melee and projectile weapon, it's vital to protect his right shoulder since that's his dominant arm, meaning he needs it both to attack with the blades of the bow and to pull back the lever for firing it. In addition to that, having a shoulder piece on the other arm would obscure his vision when aiming. Additionally, the shoulder pad and chest plate do have some functionality in that they contain a kind of liquid energy that is actually used for, or used to power, the Sonic Arrow. And there is some cultural significance to him being a samurai rider with a bow, as there were actually samurai archers, who rode on horseback. Lastly, we'll take a more in-depth look at the Sonic Arrow itself. As stated before, this is a bladed bow, as seen here and here. It's also designed similarly to the Gaseous Driver, with a primarily metallic red, black, and silver color scheme, as well as some straw-like tubes running through it, and springs molded in. It's also designed after a more modern bow, as it does have a sight right here, and is compatible with energy lock seeds. And of course, its functionality does reflect that, as it can be used for both melee attacks and firing attacks. And once on target, it can execute a strong attack, and then be used for a finisher attack using an energy lock seed. As well as further energy lock seed powered attacks. And similarly to the Muso Saber, does have a lock for the energy lock seeds. And there we go. So overall, Kamen Rider Zangetsu is quite interesting for a few different reasons. The first being that, as a rider, instead of being upgraded by having a new item that's added to a standard rider system, he was upgraded into an entirely new rider system, along with a new designation. And to my knowledge, this has only been done before with Master Rider G3 from Master Rider Agito, who was permanently upgraded into Master Rider G3X. He's also interesting in that he seems to be made to show that samurai were known to use more than just swords. They could also use shields or bows and arrows, along with other weapons. And he seems to be really just there to show that samurai could be versatile. And what's nice about him is that with this, it helps to show the differences between the armored riders and the new generation riders, and how one uses a more kind of down-to-earth armor system with unique weapons, whereas the other one focuses more on pure power, is more kind of high-tech and cybernetic, and they'll have a shared weapon. And again, I do like that I can use him as a way to transition from the original armored riders to the new generation riders. And so you'll be seeing more of those in the next episode. But next time, I'll be doing an unboxing of Yokai Dream Metal 02. So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and you can check me out on Facebook at facebook.com/krx50. And for now, this is KRX50, writing off.